Hello and welcome to Weekly WoW News. This is a show where I do a recap of the news for World of Warcraft from the past week. I don't cover everything comprehensively, but I touch on the big stuff that I can. Just going to go through Wowhead, talk about the news, offer my opinion on it. So if that's something you're interested in, stay tuned. If not, go ahead and skip on to a different video. Alright, so this week, I would have expected there to be a little bit less news after the huge 8.1 reveal that came last week, and there kind of is less news, but what we did get is a ton of models. So we're going to talk about some of the news things first, and then for the latter half of the stream, we're going to be looking at some of the new models. Now, I will say this, with my news shows, I am not going to spoil any like broadcast text or story type content if I can help it. Some of that may be spoiled without context because of some of the models, but the stuff that I mainly like to look at is the new models that come into the game, because anything, story-wise can change between now and release. Same goes for class updates and tunings. I'd rather talk about those after the fact, and only if they're interesting and actually change the way a class plays and not just numbers that affect that class. So you don't have to worry about any kind of like story spoilers and things like that. I'm going to be skipping over those in this video. Also, if you're watching this live, then at the very end of this video, I'm going to check up on the chat and I will do a question AMA kind of session and try to address any questions you have at the very end of the stream. Alright, so let's go ahead and start talking about what happened this past week. Before that, we're actually going to talk about what's coming up this week. What are the events for the week of September 25th? We have the next wing of LFR for Uldir. So if you're raiding, you can get into the next wing of that. The item level requirement is 320. So if that's something that you're into, that's available to you now as of today. The one that I'm kind of excited about is the Cataclysm Time Walking event is coming up. If you've never done a Time Walking event before, basically what that's going to do is it's going to allow you to queue up for random Cataclysm dungeons through you can do that through the dungeon queue, and then you are able to actually go back and play Cataclysm dungeons that have been scaled up to your level, and they will reward loot appropriate for your item level. So this actually is a way that you can go back and play old content and get gear that's relevant to you right now. So this is always a fun event, especially if you miss some of these expansions or you just have a really, kind of nostalgic feeling for them. Now, I kind of, like during my time playing Cataclysm, I just leveled a whole bunch of alts and tried out all the stuff that they did with the old world and the leveling process. So I didn't actually do a lot of high-end content, and I did a little bit of, raiding and high dungeons on Cataclysm, but not a lot. So I'm kind of excited to get to go back and play some of these dungeons, get a chance at loot. There are also badges that you earn that you can turn in for loot, and that can be like gear pieces, mounts, things like that. So that's pretty exciting. That's really all I think that is like super interesting. Everything else, if you're into it, then you probably are spun up on what's going on coming up this week. So this past week, Blizzard, right after their announcement of 8.1 and all the negativity that was coming out from the vocal parts of the community concerning Battle for Azeroth and how good it is or isn't, came out with this promotion for a mount and a battle pet that you can access if you sign up for a 180-day game time subscription. So if you subscribe to World of Warcraft for 6 months, you can unlock this mount and you can unlock this battle pet. There was some backlash from the community about this, as they saw it as trying to take advantage of the community or hook people in for 6 months with no promise of when they're actually going to fix some of the issues that people have. But this was something that was data mined in the PTR a long time ago, several months ago. Not the PTR, during the beta for Battle for Azeroth a long time ago. I remember seeing it pop up. It was kind of like a blank image here, but everybody was guessing that it was going to be some sort of subscription bonus mount that was going to be coming out. This mount is going to be available later on. You'll be able to purchase it through the shop without having to do the 6-month subscription. Also, if you've recently done a 6-month subscription, then they've just given you this mount for free. So this piece of news is probably irrelevant to you because you've already got the mount. It's kind of a weird combination of the boat that the Alliance got for BlizzCon last year, updated with some sort of piratey, old god sort of Battle for Azeroth themes. Pretty interesting mount. I've seen several people flying it around, and yeah. So if you're interested in this type of, if you're going to queue up and get that 6 months game subscription anyway, you might as well take advantage of this offer and get yourself a pretty cool mount, as well as this piratey parrot battle pet. All right, next up, Brewfest is going on. It'll be going on until October 6th, which is going to be towards the end of next week. This is one of the WoW holidays. You can go out and there's a lot of opportunity for you to earn battle pets, mounts. You also can use the group finder to queue up against Corin Dyer Brew, I think, Corin Dyer Brew, and he has a chance to drop a item level, I believe it's 335 trinket that could help you gear up maybe an alt or something like that, and he also does drop a mount. So take advantage of Brewfest being here. It's not a holiday that I participate in very often myself. I don't really get into it too much. There are other WoW holidays that I like a lot more, but definitely if you're leveling an alt, queue up for Corin Dyer Brew, try to get that trinket, and maybe get yourself a chance at a mount. As far as I know, you can queue up for Corin Dyer Brew and get loot from him once per day. Next up, Method, one of the more famous, if not the most famous, World of Warcraft guild achieved world first for Mythic Gahoon. This is the final boss of the Uldir raid, and they did this all while live streaming it. And I believe at one point they had like 100,000 viewers, and everybody is now talking about how there's this hunger, this desire for people to watch World of Warcraft high-end raiding, and it's kind of opened up this crazy can of worms where now people have seen how popular this has been with Method doing it, and that is exactly what you need to start turning something into an esport. So I think we're going to be seeing some kind of raiding teams and stuff like that come up in the future where people are going to want to compete and be able to get that viewership on Twitch TV and get their ads out there. The one thing that I'm kind of seeing as far as this goes that might be a big issue is the amount of people that you would have to sponsor on a team in order to make this into an esport, because traditionally you're doing like an Overwatch team or a League of Legends team or an arena team, or we've seen the Mythic Dungeon stuff come out where you're sponsoring a little dungeon team, and those are usually like 5 to maybe 10 people at most, because you have your core team and maybe some backups in case something happens. But, with Mythic raiding, we're talking about a minimum of 10 people, possibly more, that have to be sponsored in order to turn this into an actual esports event. So I'm interested to see what happens with this, because to me, this kind of has parallels with, you're getting into the territory of, fielding a full, like, professional sports team, as opposed to maybe individual players like you would in tennis, or a small team like in volleyball or something like that. We're getting into the realm of like soccer teams and basketball teams here, where we're talking about sponsoring these full raid groups. So I'm interested to see what happens with that. I'm hesitant to get too excited about it because of the number of people that do need to be sponsored. But yeah, this was a huge event, and I think this was definitely a landmark event in the history of World of Warcraft and in the history of esports, just to see all this happening. So yeah, that was pretty exciting. You could see they were very excited about it here as well. So, and now the race is on for all the other guilds to claim their spots so that they can get the special title available to, I believe it's the first 100 guilds. I may be incorrect on that, but the first 100 guilds on both factions to kill Mythic Gahoon will get a special title. So that's going to be pretty cool. And then this article here is just talking about the impact of the streaming and how much Ninja, who is a very prominent, very popular streamer on Twitch, Sko, who is one of the leaders of Method, actually had more views during the Mythic raid of Uldir than Ninja did. So it obviously shows that there's a big desire for people to be able to watch this kind of content. All right, next up we had a couple of hot fixes. The main one I wanted to touch on here, in case you didn't see the video I put out on Sunday about it, XP from doing islands has been increased. So the bonus XP reward for completing a normal island expedition has been increased. Normal is the difficulty level that you can do on alts. So now this has become a fairly decent way to level your alts. So if you weren't aware of that, just use this as a different method. You can queue up. The bonuses are you get a bunch of Azerite for your Heart of Azeroth. The main negative I see is island expeditions don't really drop gear. So you do start to level up, but then your gear is not keeping up with you. So if you're okay with just running island expeditions and maybe in 8.1 when the incursions come out, doing those world quests and not really worrying too much about upgrading your gear and just hitting max level and then doing world quests to get all your gear rewards and gear up really quickly, then this is going to be a pretty decent way to level and change the pace of what you're doing. All right, next up we had a couple of hot fixes. We're continuing on with the theme of island expeditions here. The main thing is some island expedition achievements have been made account-wide, and then in the following post here we have the island expedition collection achievement progress is now account-wide as well. So there are achievements for collecting, the different island pets and things like that for the island expeditions, and now those will count no matter what character you're getting them on. So just some updates for Island Expedition. This is a new feature in Battle for Azeroth, so I fully expect them to keep adding on these sort of quality life things, both for these and Warfronts as we continue forward into the expansion. All right, next up, Blizzard has been talking a little bit, quite a lot about Azerite imbalance, and this has been a hot topic among streamers as well. They did, in this little blue post here, talk about the fact that Protection Warriors need some defensive buffs, and those should be coming down the pipeline at some point, although they're not 100% ready to talk about exactly what those are. But really what I wanted to focus on here was the Azerite. So they said, we agree that the trait imbalance is a real problem right now. We made a bunch of tuning adjustments last week and have more planned for the very near future, primarily focused on buffing underperforming traits. We see this as the source of most of the frustrations with the system. If the delta between your best and worst traits wasn't so big, it'd be less frustrating when a piece of Azerite armor doesn't have your best trait on it. I 100% disagree. Just because something is less crappy and I don't want it, I don't understand where that logic comes from. If I want a pizza and you give me a pretty decent cheeseburger, I'm not going to be like, oh, well, at least I guess I got a, that cheeseburger was pretty good. I'm not getting what I want. I think there's a lot of issues with this Azerite system. I do agree with something that Preach kind of pointed out in one of his videos, which was that, the more you bring all the traits in line with each other, the less interesting they get. You're defeating the point of people having to make choices if essentially what you're doing is balancing everything to be kind of level. So if all the Azerites ultimately do 5 damage a piece, but they just do it in different ways, then that doesn't really offer you a lot of choice, especially if the different ways that they do that is still through random procs and things that you can't control, or things that once they do happen you can't affect. So I'm still thinking that there's a lot of work to be done on the entire Heart of Azeroth system and the Azerite traits and everything. I think they have a ton of work to do, and I honestly don't know if they're going to be able to fix it in a way that is going to feel good for players and then also still feel kind of balanced and make you feel like you have choices, because it also goes the exact opposite way. When one of the traits is so powerful that it just outperforms everything else, you don't have choice there either. You take that, or you decide that you're just going to underperform. And that may be okay if you're doing, world quests and outdoor content and lower level stuff. Like if I'm playing on one of my characters that I'm leveling up, I barely even pay attention to what I pick as my Azerite trait because it doesn't even matter, Half the time I can't tell when the proc goes off, I can't tell what it's doing, I don't have any effect on it, it doesn't change my gameplay, so, why do I really care? Some of the standout ones have been the ones that are actually noticeable. Like I like picking the one that does the lightning bolt when you hit stuff. Why? Because I can see when it happens, and all of a sudden the lightning bolt shoots down. And I'm like, well, my character doesn't use lightning, so that must have been my Azerite trait. Cool. So that kind of stuff is more what I'm interested to see. Things that you actually can see visual effects for, things that change your gameplay, and I honestly don't think the tuning and adjustments are going to do that for a lot of these because they're just a random little buff that pops up, next to all your other buffs. So I would encourage you to go check out Preach's video about that if you haven't seen it yet, and he makes some really good points, I think. I don't know that I agree with every single thing because, we're coming from two different perspectives where he's a very high-end mythic raider, always pushing the front lines, of progression, whereas, I'm a much more casual player, but, just because I'm casual doesn't mean I'm stupid. And, just because I'm casual doesn't mean that I don't want the same quality of choice as someone who is pushing progressive content, and trying to get the most out of their characters. Maybe the time that I put in is not as much, but it doesn't mean that I don't want to be able to make those same choices and customize the character the way that I'd like to. So that's kind of, my opinion on the Azerite traits. And I think no, that was it. I narrowed it down to one article on Azerite traits because I was like, I can't harp on this too much. So next we have some more interesting pieces of news, I think. There are some upcoming Blizzard books. So like Wowhead says, Blizzard tends to release new products around BlizzCon. They want to build up the hype and everything like that. So we actually have two different books. One of them is a Hearthstone pop-up book. So this is really interesting. The thing that got me about this is it looks really crowded. Like, doesn't this look super crowded? I don't know. It's been a long time since I've cared about a pop-up book, but I like this. Okay, I like this one. I've played a lot of Hearthstone. I like seeing a pop-up board. That's really cool because Hearthstone is kind of 2.5D, where everything does kind of look flat, but it's actually built with 3D models, and you're kind of looking at it top-down. So this is cool. I think this is a really good representation of the board itself. And so, yeah, just a kind of a neat book. I really doubt that I would buy it, just because that's not the kind of stuff I'd spend money on. But I think it is pretty interesting. The next book I definitely would not purchase. But that doesn't mean it's not cool. This is a Blizzard cosplay book with tips, tricks, and hints. And they haven't showed off too much of what's in it yet. We mainly just have pictures of the cover. So I guess we'll have to wait and see when more of that is going to be revealed. So yeah, a couple of new books coming out from Blizzard if that's the kind of thing that you're into. Next, this is, I think, pretty awesome. I have in the title of the news, Blizzard equals good guys, and it's because of this article. Last week, I spoke about what was going on with the Deadly Boss Mods author and how he was kind of financially struggling and had other things going on in his personal life. And I said, if you have the ability to reach out and support him, if you use the mod, then do so because, Deadly Boss Mods, it's not like this has popped up in the last month and someone, is trying to cash in on something. This guy has been doing this for years and years and years. And not only did all the outreach from the community bring him from about 500 Patreon supporters to 3,000, and I think if we click here, we can take a look. So the first time that I looked at this, he had maybe 1,400 patrons, and now he's got over 3,000, and at $1 or more per month, he's bringing in about $3,000 now for doing Deadly Boss Mods. And honestly, I don't think that's ridiculous. I think that's entirely deserved for what he does. But the community just reached out and really helped him out, and that has been fantastic to see. But then on top of that, Blizzard and MSI, who is a computer tech company, they do PC peripherals and PC builds and stuff like that, actually reached out to him, and they gave him a signed copy of the collector's edition of World of Warcraft. They gave him a typed letter, as well as a brand new PC with a ton of peripherals. And this is one of the things that he was talking about in his letter, how his computer and everything were, run down, and he needed to do upgrades and stuff to be able to stay on the cutting edge of doing Mythic difficulty content, so he could put out the Deadly Boss mod stuff. So this was just really cool to see, and this is literally why I said Blizzard equals good guys. So don't. That's the context, all right? Don't take that out of any other context. But yeah, this is just really cool. I really like it when different game companies reach out to the people who have been a part of their community and supported them and helped them out and do things like this as a nice gesture. I mean, obviously they get a lot of good PR and stuff for it too, but I think you have to be really cynical to take something like this way. Some of the PR sort of ask me anythings and streams and stuff that we get from companies, yeah, I'll be cynical about those all day long. But when it's something like this where they've reached out and they've actually helped someone, I mean, if you put yourself in his shoes and you just, for this game that you've been working on for so long, you get, a signed collector's edition, you get a new computer, like that's a huge deal to, the average person. And so I'm not going to be cynical about this. I think it's awesome. And I'm really happy that, he's better off than he was, 2 weeks ago. All right, so now we're getting into the data mine stuff. So if you don't want to see new models, you don't want to see all the cool craziness, you don't want to discuss it or look at it or anything, then now's the time for you to check out. Thanks for tuning into the news, and I'll see you next week. If you're down for all the crazy cool models that are coming out of the PTR, then this is where we get into it, and we're starting with new maps. So we have some new maps that have shown up in the PTR. So this is the old Kalimdor map, and this is the updated one. I like these quite a bit. They still kind of show the divisions. You can see the faint lines of the divisions of each of the zones. But I think this is really nice because if these are the maps that are going to be implemented, it makes it really easy to see the big standout things that you typically look for. Like right here is Orgrimmar, there's Mulgore. There's all these different places around the map, and I think that's Gadgetzan and Ratchet. If I'm wrong, you guys can stab me in the comments or whatever you want to do. But yeah, I think it's really cool to be able to see these standout places on the map like that. We also got one for the Eastern Kingdom. So this is the old map, and this is the new map. So you can see like the Undercity. Down here is Stormwind, Ironforge, so that's really cool. We also got maps for the new island expeditions. So this is the Havenswood map, which is supposed to be the one that is themed around the Gilnean, like abandoned Gilnean city. It's supposed to be a little more civilized than the island expeditions that you've been doing so far. And we also got the Jorundal map, which is the Vrykul themed one that I imagine is going to have, hopefully some neat little Vrykul structures kind of scattered about. It looks like maybe there's like a longboat or something right there. So that's pretty cool as well. And then we also got a map, sort of the Battle for Darkshore. I'm not going to look at this too much or read too much into it because I don't want to spoil too much of that for myself. All right, now I've got these kind of in a row from like least exciting to most exciting, so we're just going to kind of fly through the least exciting and talk about the more exciting ones. We got some new tabards. This is the kul'tiran allied race tabard. This is the Zandalari one, and then we got some new PvP ones. You can feel free to pull up these articles and check them out a little more in detail yourself. Like I said, I don't want to spend a lot of time on these new ones. This Tyrande got a new model update, and Malfurion got a new bear form model update. This probably ties into the fact, with the Warfront from Darkshore coming, I'm sure that they're probably involved to some degree, and also they did mention that in 8.1, Tyrande's story is going to be explored further, so that's a good reason for them to update the model. So I'm going to take a look at those right now. You can look away if you want to. So here's the new Tyrande model, and here's the new Malfurion bear model. We've also got some other stuff in there, but you're safe now. You can return to looking if you want. Next up, we got a bunch of different creature models. We got some new trees, Ancients of War, Tree of Life, that kind of stuff. These are most likely going to be units in the war front on Darkshore. We got some air elementals as well. These are hopefully going to be used. You know, it says Shaman updates up here. If this is going to be used for new Shaman Storm Elemental updates, they're pretty cool looking. I like them. Kelthis got a new update. That probably has to do with the quest that you're going to be doing for the Blood Elf Heritage Armor, but let's talk about the most important thing in this entire post on creature models. We got capybaras. They're so cute. Look at them. Look at them. We don't know where these are coming from or like where they're coming into play or where they're going to show up, but there's a whole bunch of them and they're a bunch of different colors. We got a picture of a real one here. We got the Vault Guardian that's going to be in these Siege on Zuldazar raid that's coming out in 8.1. I think that's pretty cool. We've never had a Bling Elemental before. Some Scourge Warriors. I imagine these are also Warfront models that are going to be used as units that the Forsaken side, the Horde side, is going to be able to produce. And some more trees and stuff like that. Trees, trees, trees. So on, so on. These are, here we go, Stag and Slay. So we got some new models for the Feast of Wintervale, which should be coming up here in a couple of months. So yeah, pretty cool stuff there. We've got some stuff from the Night Elf Warfronts. So these are weapons. So you can just take a look at these. I'm mainly just going to point out a couple I think are particularly cool, like the Night Elf Glaive here. That's really awesome. I hope it's not just a Demon Hunter thing, because my Demon Hunter is Horde, and I definitely want this Transmog, because it's pretty dang cool. We got some maces, polearms, shields. You know, like I said, you can pull up these on Wowhead and check them out if you want to. I think this glaive is ridiculous looking. These are from the Zuldazar raid. We got some gnome-themed maces here. You can see the gears and kind of like the plier pincher ends there. Those are pretty cool. Alright, kul'tiran Allied Race Heritage Armor. So this is the armor that you're going to be getting if you level up a kul'tiran from 20 to... I don't know if they're going to make it 110 like everything else or make it 120. We'll have to see. What everybody wanted, I think, was this armor here, where we get this really cool trench coat. And they kind of have it. There's no confirmation that this is the completed version of the armor, so there's still a chance that it might be a little bit different. But the main things that are missing here are the big cuffs on the coat and the big collar on the coat as well. So we'll see if maybe they add them in. I have a feeling they're not going to, because, I mean, this looks a lot closer to what we're used to for, you know, chest piece transmogs and armor sets on our player characters. So I don't think they're going to flare those cuffs out, but that would be pretty cool. And I don't know about the collar either, because I think there might be some clipping issues, or, you know, maybe they just don't want something that big interfering with your helmet. So we'll see. All right, now we're getting into the good stuff, the really exciting stuff. We've got some new mounts coming up. This is the kul'tiran horse, because Alliance wanted another horse, and Blizz said, "We got you, fam." This does look like a pretty cool horse, I gotta admit. This is probably going to be the allied race mount for the kul'tiran, so once you recruit them, you'll get access to this. I think it looks pretty good compared to some of the other horses that Blizzard has made available throughout this expansion as drops for the Alliance, which have just been like, hey, here's brown horse, here's a black horse, here's a white horse. At least this one has some cool kul'tiran armor on it. Next, we got some vicious saddle mounts. We got a sweet black Warsaber. Pretty awesome Alliance mount there. I love how the banner is not blue, but it's like this cool, you know, multicolored purple. That is really awesome. I'm loving this vicious black bone steed. This thing looks sick for the Horde, and the blue banner for the Horde. It's so cool. I love it. I love how black. It's just vicious white bone steed. This is another take on that same mount there. I like this one too. Big fan. I'm not as big of a fan of this one. I do like the little green touches in here. That's pretty nice. but it looks kind of, washed out to me, I guess. We got some new Nightsaber mounts in some different colors here. Those are looking pretty good with a little updated model. We got a new model here that might be for the Hive Mind. This is a mount that they've been talking about since beta for Battle for Azeroth as a mount that possibly more than 2 people would be able to mount. So it'll be interesting to see if this ever gets used. My money is that it's going to be one of those really hard to find secrets, kind of like the Riddler's Mind Worm, or I can't remember what the crazy unicorn thing was, but I got it. It was horrible. I'm having flashbacks. Like, I never... Oh, that was awful. It was awful. The last leg of that quest was horrible. But now I've got a cool purpley black unicorn thing. So, new druid form models. So we got some updated models here. The High Mountain Tauren is getting their own Moonkin model. It's got, some of that traditional kind of high mountain, feather stuff going on. And then also, of course, the moose style antlers on top. So a couple different colors here. We got the more traditional Moonkin color as well as a kind of nice dark brown one. But guys, gals, whatevers. Let's talk about this kul'tiran Moonkin. I don't know what's going on here. I can't help but laugh at this. This model, it cracks me up. We're gonna full screen this, and we're gonna take a look at this. Look at this thing. Okay, so I get it. A Moonkin has to have a weird shape, right? It's got to have a big, weird, Moonkin-y kind of, big shape. I get it. What is with the weird leaf spikes coming out of his arm? What do those do? Do those break off when you punch somebody? I like some of the cool bone stuff going on here. That's sort of interesting. They kind of went with the wicker stuff, but not really. Kind of looks more like a log. But the thing that really gets me, is this. What is with this face? I don't know. I don't know what I can say about this. Here's the thing. I'm going to make my druid a kul'tiran because of all the other forms that they've gotten that have been incredibly cool. And this one isn't bad enough to stop me. But I think everybody kind of wanted the tall, lanky, skull-on-face, wicker man to be the Moonkin form for the kul'tirans, and Blizzard definitely did not do that. So, shame on you, Blizzard. You set a precedent with the Zandalari druid form being thin and all bird-like and weird. You could have gone for the thin, cool, wicker man look as well. And that's not a, hey, thin is better than thick kind of comment. That's just that was a cool model. We wanted it. So who knows? On the other hand, the Zandalari got a super awesome aquatic form for their druids that made me want to re-roll my druid over and be a Zandalari druid instead, because look at this thing. It is a cool dinosaur, shark, turtle, puppy, I don't know. It just looks really cool. I love this model. This might be my favorite Zandalari druid model. Period. And that's crazy for it to be the aquatic form because there isn't even that much content for you to do in the water, but I feel like I would just be diving into the water just so that I could use this form. It's that cool. I love it. There's a couple different tints for it, and it's pretty awesome. So next we have the Siege of Zuldazar raid armor. We have cloth, leather, and mail armors, including the Mythic tints. So we're going to take a quick look at these, and I kind of want to give my opinion on them. I thought the Uldir armor sets were kind of... they were okay. This is the cloth set for Uldir. It's pretty cool, I gotta say. I like the helmet, I like the shoulders, I like the belt, I like the fact that this is a cloth set that any cloth class can get that looks like a sick, disgusting warlock set. Because me, personally, I've never liked the aesthetic of most of the mage or priest sets, and I would much prefer to run around on a mage in this set. If I could get, maybe this tint and run around as a fire mage, or get this blue one, run around as a frost mage. We've even got kind of, well, we don't really have one that Well, I guess Mythic kind of matches up with Arcane. So this is a little more elaborate. It's got some crazy glowing stuff. But I would love to get these kind of tents on my mage and just run around as this like sort of weird mage Death Knight hybrid. That's pretty awesome. So yeah, these look great. And I will definitely be running the raids trying to get some of these transmogs. I like them quite a bit more than the Uldir one. Now, leather, I don't know about this. It's okay to me. I kind of like the helmets. I don't know. It's a lot of bones. There's a lot of bones, and I'm never really a big fan of armor that leaves like just bare forearms, because I'd rather it be like fully all the way down, so you look more, like a ninja, or like you're in actual armor. Because I don't know. I just prefer it to, not show the forearms. So. It's okay. It's okay. I don't mind it. The Mythic one gets really beastly, really beefy. If you look at the leather one here, it's not too bad. I think the Mythic one does look better because now you kind of look like this hulking bone Terminator, and that's pretty sick. I like it. Moving on to the male one, I think for once... No. It doesn't look great. Male always gets shafted. I'm always having such a hard time finding a cool transmog for my hunter and for my shaman. And look, my shaman is a Pandaren and my hunter is a Worgen. So if you are either one of those races on your character, you feel my pain. And if you're not a male wearing class, imagine your character having to find male transmogs as one of those races. I'm race changing my hunter to a different race because I'm switching it over to horde. But my panda is and will always be a Pandaren, or my shaman is and always will be a Pandaren. So this is the kind of stuff I'm stuck with. Like, this texture is gonna look horrible on that big old panda belly. Horrible. But I do like the shoulders, and I do like the helmet. The helmet I think is pretty decent, and I actually really do like the shoulders. I like the clean, slick look. It's pretty cool. And if we jump up to the Mythic, I think this is still pretty good. I actually like this helmet a little bit better. I kind of like how it looks like a crown. That's pretty cool. And they did a little bit better job with the torso as well by having the kind of like little layers here. If you look back on the regular one, you sort of got them in there. But I don't know. I think it's the color schemes of Mythic. They just look a little more pronounced to me. I could be crazy. It could just be my eyeballs being weird. Who knows? All right, moving on. Next, we have the Warfront armor, and this is the last bit. We've got the Horde Warfront armor, and we've got the Alliance Warfront armor. We're going to start with the Horde stuff. We have leather, mail, and plate, so we don't have a look at what the cloth looks like yet for the Horde, but this does confirm that some of this stuff that we saw last week in the little promo picture that they did in the 8.1 sort of info dump is some of the armor you can get. And I said at the time that that would be pretty awesome because I like it quite a bit. And that hasn't changed. So the leather set, remember Warfront armor has 3 tiers. So you can get these better looking, more detailed pieces as you do the Warfront content. And obviously the stuff at the higher tiers is rarer or harder to get. But this is the base level leather. It looks okay. It doesn't look too bad. I am a little bit concerned about, how long the helmet looks from front to back. I think that always looks weird. It looks even worse like on an undead because they're so thin. But I imagine if you're on like a Tauren or a Worgen, this is going to look pretty bad, I think. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. We got the next step up. Nothing too crazy. And then we have the third one. And some people may not like this one. I love this one. I'm concerned about the hood from the side. It looks way too big. I'll probably still wear it, especially on a character that doesn't have such a big head. I don't know. I think it'll look good on my Demon Hunter, but here's why I like this. This is the kind of nerd that I am. This reminds me of like a foot soldier from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Am I right? Am I wrong? What do you think? I think that's what it looks like, and I would love to run around as a little Foot Clan Demon Hunter ninja and, tank stuff and glide around and throw glaives. I could pretend that they're ninja stars. Or maybe get on my rogue and do the whole, shuriken throw and that kind of stuff. This is letting me play Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in World of Warcraft, so I'm 100% cool with that. Moving on to the mail, it doesn't look awful, I guess. I like the chain link thing that they're going on. I think maybe they've tried to do that in the past, and I don't think it's looked quite as good as it does here. I like how the chain link on the helmet kind of hangs down and actually looks like what it would look like if you were wearing that kind of helmet. So I think this is not too horrible. I don't know what it's going to look like on some of the other races, but it looks okay on an undead. We got the next step up. We got a little bit more detail here. And then finally, the third tier. I don't know. I'm not very impressed with the transition from first to third tier with the male set. And then next up, we have, let's see, we got some more. Oh, there we go. This is the third tier. There were some other tints in there, I guess. So this does look quite a bit better. I like the faceplate on the front. It looks a little bit weird in this picture here, but overall, it looks kind of cool. And I do like the addition of like the kind of like kilt skirt thing going on here. That is really cool. I do like that quite a bit. So yeah, that's good stuff. Moving on to the plate. I don't know. This is boring to me. It's boring. It's unimpressive, uninspired. I don't like it. If we jump up to the next tier, and it's a little bit better. They threw some spikes everywhere. And then when we jump up to the final tier, look, more spikes. I don't know. I play a lot of plate characters, and usually there's some of my main characters that I play, but this is just, I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But I will say this. The Horde has got it good compared to the Alliance, because let's take a look at the Warfront armor for the Alliance. We have the leather, mail, and plate sets. What is this? What is this, Blizzard? I don't know if it's because it's on a night elf and it just looks really lanky. What is with this helmet? Are you trying to collect rain and funnel it onto your chest? Like, what are you doing here? This set is absolutely ridiculous, I think. Well, if you like it, that's fine. I think it's ridiculous. If we look at the next step up, they're like, oh, you know what would be good? Let's put feathers on it. I don't know. This is ridiculous. I am not at all looking forward to collecting this. This is the plate set. No way I'm wearing this on my Death Knight. No way. Don't like it at all. We jump into the mail, and it kind of looks a little bit better, I guess. There's even more forearm. We already talked about that. I'm not going to harp on that again. But what is going on with this color scheme? Like, we got some random gold and blue alliance, but then it's thrown in there with this weird black and blue stuff. Kind of like they just, like, put on Iron Man armor, but only some of it. I don't know. It's... yeah, I don't understand what they're doing there either. If we take it up to the higher tier stuff here, I think it just gets worse. The helmet gets worse, in my opinion. Like, what, are you gonna shoot a beam out of your forehead? I mean, what's going on here? I really don't know. And then Alliance, that was male. So Alliance leather. This I really don't understand. This is so, like, skimpy and sparse. I actually do like the shoulders. I think the shoulders are cool. I like how it kind of looks like there's like fur underneath the pads. I think those are pretty cool shoulders, and they'll go good with a transmog set that you can make them work with. But this is so sparse. Like, does this guy even have a helmet? Like, where is this helmet at? And if we jump it up, we get a update here, and I don't know. Like, I kind of have a love-hate thing going on with this helmet. I'm not really sure whether I like it or I don't. Like, I kind of like it from the side. I kind of don't like it from the front. It does kind of look like an owl, and I like owls, so that's kind of cool. But overall, I really feel like the Alliance got shafted, and Blizzard could have done a way better job on these Warfront armors. And the thing that is really irritating about that is, like, this is supposed to be the Alliance striking back against the Horde in this Warfront. They should be the ones with the cool stuff. They should be coming out there, like, fully prepared, manned up, not looking like, you know, they put on half their Iron Man armor to go fight the Horde. So I'm a little bit disappointed in that. So that is all of the transmog stuff that we have. That is the majority of what I had to cover in the news. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pop over real quick, just check the chat, answer any questions, that may have come up. So this is the end of the news. Thank you for joining me. I'll be back next week, same time, Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. That's GMT -6. So tune into that if you want to catch up on the news as well. And I will see you on the next video. All right, guys. I'm going to pop over into the chat. Lucid Nightmare. Yes, you were right. That was absolutely right. Hello, Scarlet. Hey, Steph. Thanks for tuning into the stream. All right, no questions, so I'm just going to end it there. I'll see everybody next week. Peace.